looking at what American sports looks like, I feel like we as Americans, you could say we're biased towards the American leagues, but as Premier League fans first, it's kind of the opposite. But comparing the two, you really can't even do it. It's the product is 1,000 times better. One, because of the format. So Premier League, it's like American sports, there's playoffs. That kind of sucks a lot of the life out of the regular season. There's been a ton of problems with like teams tanking. It's just not that interesting. It's not that fun to watch at a certain point until the playoffs come. Obviously, soccer in the world has cured that by making the regular season the playoffs, which I could never understood how Americans never got caught onto that. But to your point, like hearing Peter Drury and Graham Lasso talk for 15 seconds is more nutritional and enlightening than 3 hours of like ESPN football content where like Stephen A is just screaming at somebody who I don't know who played in the NFL 30 years ago, like also screaming back at him. And they're just like arguing about a team that never even existed if they could beat like 86 Miami Heat. I'm like, how is this even the same type of industry?
Kylian Mbappe could have never played football if he grew up in the U.S., in my opinion.
Being from the States, you have to like learn how things are over there because MLS is much different than the Premier League, and you're almost stepping into a different realm.
With the 2026 World Cup coming here and a new generation of fans like start to become like to discover the game, there's no telling like where the game's going to be 10, 15, 20 years.
One game changed my life, and that's all it ever takes.
We're recording on a Monday. How was the weekend? All of our clubs played. Some interesting shithousery went down. I mean, how do you guys feel?
All of our clubs won too, right? Oh shit! No, everybody's but United won this weekend, so mostly a pretty good weekend.
Tristan's on a high. He's going to be on a high for a bit. Let's not get. We know what happens. Yeah. Spurs won a few games. Tristan gets a little excited. Then they start
uncharted territory for Tristan, right?
It is actually charted territory for
going
in. I'm like, it is charted territory. Going in, I'm like, okay, especially this season, I got to keep that bar way low. And then at halftime against United, I'm like, I think the title charge might be back on here. I think we might actually be the favorites to win this thing right now if Ange Ball keeps going. But weekend was great. It's just nice the Premier League is back, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, although my team didn't win, it's nice to wake up in the morning. I wake up early anyway, so those games are on. Have a cup of coffee and just turn it on and lay back, and it's always fun watching the Prem.
Yeah, agreed. I'm so happy it's back. I'm getting double into it with soccer because I was coaching all weekend. The guys are coming back for preseason, so I didn't get to watch as much as I would have. But I know McAllister did not deserve that red. So,
bro, that can we talk about that call really quick? I mean, it's so tough. I feel like I don't know if there was another player who maybe has more of a track record for shit like that. I think it makes more sense. Was it not just a tough red? I mean, studs were up, but I don't know, man. I didn't agree.
That's just where I think the guy in the VAR booth has to grow some stones, and he sees it, but he just gets to hide behind the curtain and say, you know what? I don't see enough to overturn this decision. And in live time, even when I saw it in live time, I was like, it looked like stud showing, but then watching it back, it was kind of on his step and a lot closer to the ball. So,
it wasn't that high. It just wasn't that high up the leg. I don't know, man. Me and Andre, before we even went live today, we were just kind of bitching a little bit about PG mold, the referees. I feel like this year we're in for probably the craziest roller coaster on the officiating front we've seen in a while.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, especially as United continue to sign the checks over to
my name's Connor. Shut up.
You literally get it done without him.
Worst Liverpool sport I've ever met in my entire life.
There's some bad ones. I wouldn't give that title away just yet. There's some bad ones out there.
He is bad.
That can be a pretty insufferable fan base. I will say, though, after the Arsenal red card today, which was also controversial, that's 5 red cards this weekend. So I think the refs are already, to your point, Jose, I absolutely agree. I'm also kind of nervous because I feel like it's going to be, now you can get a yellow just for like going like this and waving it. That's been an automatic yellow pretty much this weekend.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Partey got away with it today, but now you look at the refs funny, they'll whip that card out. And it's like, and they're handing out more to the coaches on the bench too. So I think it's going to be like the Wild West this year where people are just like left and right.
Gary O'Neill got one.
It's going to be like the quick
against
draw.
United.
Yeah. I mean, if you open your mouth even a little bit, they're going to come find you. They'll hear you and you will be linked up with a yellow. But yeah, I'm already kind of nervous at how many seemingly bad calls there have been. In the United-Tottenham match, there were 2. I think there were just 2 bad calls. I think Romero got followed by Lissandro, and I think he also handballed that ball in the box. Like, I think it was just 2 bad calls. I like that they were letting the boys play, but something about this season I do not think bodes well for VAR and for refs, and I don't know why I have such a bad feeling about it, but who knows?
Biggest league in the world, only the biggest league in the world. We'll see how it all pans out, man. I'm not hopeful either.
I was gonna say I wouldn't know anything about the Prem. I'm a Leeds fan, so it's been great watching the boys in the championship.
I actually looked at the championship table today, and I saw that are they 0-2-1, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
Thanks for the reminder. Appreciate that.
You can scoff at it if you want, guys. If you want to scoff at them, I laugh at them all the time for being really good.
It's all good.
Do you think they're gonna get promoted this year?
No shot. No, there's no way in hell.
Dude,
I watched the game against West Brom on Friday, and I was like, "This is horrible." Like,
what's going on with your boy Nyanto? He's like refusing to step foot on the field. He's like, send me anywhere.
Prima donna, dude. Like, relax, just fucking play. You're not Ronaldo, dude. Like, Ronaldo gets away with that shit, not Nyanto. Like, come on.
He was highly overrated last season because he was like an aggressive, high energy player, and now like you said, now he's acting like a.
I kind of rated him. I think he was even linked to Spurs here and there from an extra weight position, but
he fits your Spurs.
That would have been a Spursy signing, 100%.
I think so too. Imagine him and Richarlison in the same line, like the amount of irritants that would cause, but.
Most punchable team in the league by far, I think.
No, the punchability is really, really high there. I think we signed a few more punchable guys too, but in the best possible way. And Ange is always ready for a sideline brawl, I can tell.
I can tell. All the beer really for you.
It started with looking at, because I'm like, oh, Harry Winks, former Tottenham guy, he's at Leicester now, so I'm checking in on Leicester. I'm like, oh, they're 3-0. Them and Ipswich Town are both 3-0 in the championship this season, only undefeated sides. Then I venture down the table a little more. I forget, first of all, there's 24 championship teams.
Yeah.
And I think the Leeds are, it'll change. It's very, very early in the season. There's tons of games too, so I'm sure you'll go up and down. But where do you think they'll finish this season, genuinely, in championship?
I mean, dude, if we can make it to the playoffs, I'd be like, this is fucking amazing. But it's not going to happen. I think we finished top 10, mid-table. We need a couple more signings, dude. We lost, I think, 11 or 12 players in the window, and we only got £4 million. £4 million.
Who's the biggest player you got? Who's the biggest? I guess not probably Nanto, but who else?
Yeah, outside of that, I'm trying to think. Luke Ayling. I mean, but is he all that though?
Yeah,
actually, Melia. Melia's legit. I like Melia.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm surprised no one.
He'll probably get sold.
I'm surprised nobody picked him up.
United should have over Onana. I'll tell you that much.
You could get a nice little buck for Melier. Seriously, there's some cash in that team, but I get at this point you're not in the driver's seat in terms of these deals. A lot of times those guys are pretty eager to get out of the championship. But
I mean, we loaned out a few players too. Jack Harrison going to Everton. I mean, we're gonna get them back, but it's not gonna be until next year. So what, you know what I mean? This year we're kind of screwed.
Yeah, if you're still in the championship, they'll probably get sold. Is probably the case. So
anyway. But either way, minus Leeds, minus the championship team, hell of a weekend. Well, I guess United. My bad. United.
Still a hell of a weekend.
We'll throw it in there in the category with Leeds too. Boy, we're here, episode 64. We did it. We're here. I know we planned this for a few weeks now, guys. I'm excited that you're here. Look, before we jump in, I think we're all excited to meet the boys, the crew at the Howlers Pod. Let's get a quick intro if you guys don't mind. Just for those who are watching on video, let's go round table.
My name is Tristan, and I'm a Tottenham fan. We're also missing Jalen, who's our fourth here, who is stuck at Fenway Park working tonight. So we're without Jalen, but he's here in spirit.
He's our resident Real Madrid fan, so he gives
he's an Andre.
Attaboy.
Biased point of view. So. My name's Andrew. I'm a Manchester United fan. Proudly wear it on my sleeve.
And my name is Connor. I'm a Liverpool fan.
Annoyingly,
the worst of the bunch, according to Andrew. So. We'll have to see about that.
Boys, I can tell this episode's gonna be straight vibes. I can already tell. There's a lot to talk about. I definitely want to start. I know we've kind of shooting the shit on how this weekend went for all of our clubs. You can tell by who's in the best mood on the recording today. But I think before we go too far down that rabbit hole, I definitely want to take a step back and talk a little bit about just the origin story of the Howlers Pod, man. In all honesty, I think there's so many of these creator groups that are popping up, right? Especially as footy continues to grow, especially here stateside. When I look for other creators like this, those who have the vibes, you can tell they've been friends for a long time, and of course you want to test their ball knowledge, kind of see where they're at. I feel like the camaraderie you guys have, the knowledge and the banter you guys bring to the show week in and week out. I mean, even the episode that I listened to from this past weekend, right? You guys kind of running it back there. it all seems like you guys have been friends forever, man, years on end. I don't know how long ago this all really started. Did you guys bond over the beautiful game, or was there something else that brought you guys together? Let's talk about that. I want to see how that scales into what you guys are doing today, and more importantly, some of the wild ass takes that have come across your show.
I think it was it was technically a COVID baby, wasn't it? It was sort of
so it's funny. So Connor and I had an idea of a podcast back in college, and then Tristan talked to Connor separately out of me about a podcast. And then I remember one day I was coming down to Mass, and Connor's like, "Yo, Tristan wants to start a podcast," and I was like, "Oh, you want to start a podcast? Let's start a podcast." And then
it was the height of COVID when everyone was spreading apart, and we thought, you know what? Let's all get in the same room. Let's get really close over one microphone that we can all share. No, but I mean, that was this point nearly 3 full years ago.
Yeah, so it was definitely birthed during COVID. It's a COVID baby, like Tristan mentioned. And then we used to be around one microphone in a very stuffy room. Tristan had this microphone that was from like, how old is
my blue snowball microphone, which I think came out in mid 2000s probably, but I would have the setting to like surround sound, and we'd set it on a table probably half this size.
It was a bar table that we would carry up from the living room into my bedroom, and it was so
in your AC-less bedroom, and we're all just like breathing into each other's faces, like arguing over price points for players.
I'm dripping sweat because it's so hot.
Andrew would have to take an intermission because he gets too flustered on the mic.
It was pre-camera, which is probably good. It's good that there's not a visual aspect to our very early episode.
We definitely got a little too buzzed on each episode too, because we don't really make it a regular thing as much towards the end of last season, but we used to crack a beer for every start and drink an IPA or whatever kind of beer you'd like. Talk about the beer, where it's from, etc. And so we'd have like 2 or 3 per episode.
When you're screaming over whether Harry Kane is 100 mil or 110 mil while drinking 2 IPAs, they'll go to your head.
Oh my God.
It's got to be 3-hour episodes, bro. There's no way.
They were longer. Yeah.
They were way longer.
The live watches too, which even then, those are still longer episodes.
Yeah.
But
I think our first episode ever was like 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Which thinking back now is like, it's insane. But now I think we're in such a rhythm that it sort of always shakes out to about the same amount of time. We are forever going into episodes, sometimes saying shit, we kind of feel underprepared, or we don't know if we have enough to talk about. And that episode is usually right about an hour, sometimes a little bit less or more, but it's just kind of been that way, I think.
And Tristan was a few years older than Connor and I in college. Connor was a year above me, and we all knew of each other. I was closer with Connor, playing soccer with him, and I knew of Tristan, and then COVID kind of just brought us together. Same with Jalen. He was a player. He was a player on the team, and we just got together and started doing it and never stopped. So
and where was this, by the way, in terms of school or even just like geographical location?
LaSalle, we all went to LaSalle College, now LaSalle University, right outside Boston. So those 3 played soccer, and I was a volleyball guy, but I was also kind of their agent. We made no money, but it was fine. The memories are what we got paid in. So
I love that. I love that, bro.
It's nice that it's a small school. So I kind of think it was always inevitable that we would kind of just fall into this thing that we've now been doing. Yeah, like I said, for quite a few years now, we've made lots of memories and made lots of horrendous predictions. And
oh my gosh,
they all live forever. So
where are you guys recording? Sorry, where are you guys recording now in that room? Looks kind of.
We are now in Arlington, Massachusetts, which is where Connor and Jalen and I live, which is just north of Boston. Yeah. So we've had a couple of different setups. We've had Tristan's place. We've had our upstairs here, which was like a way more relaxed setting. And then obviously Connor's original house where we had the bar table and the one mic. And then this is like the final. Well, this is the current product, which is a table that we have inherited with some holes in it for wires.
I just showed up to an episode one day, and these men are just drilling holes in the table. What's up, guys? What are you doing? And they're like, we're going to have the cords. It's credit to them. It actually worked out beautifully. I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell unless, but I'm thankful we had this table to drill some holes into. And now it looks like a bit more.
And we got the scars back here. We collected them.
Tristan supplied most.
Tristan has a collection, and
I had them hanging on my wall in my apartment. But girls were like, "This looks like a college dorm." And I was like, "I need to take these down." But for a podcast set, I think they look really classy.
Perfect.
We've mixed it up.
I see a Timbers one out there.
Yep,
right there.
that's
A little
right.
there.
I got that the hard way by going to Portland and getting it.
The Regiment one was gifted by the Charleston Battery faithful.
That's sick.
That one.
We got the Loudon one when we went down to Virginia.
Yeah, some USL.
I gotta give you guys a Ballard FC one. Do you guys know about Ballard FC?
Please do. No, what is that?
Yeah, what
Fill
is
us in.
Ballard?
So I'm rocking the kit right now. It's actually Ruben's Brews, and it's USL 2. So it's basically a summer league, and the boys just won the Natty. They won the national championship. It's based out of here in Seattle.
Yeah, that's incredible.
We were able to get up to Vermont to watch the Vermont Green.
Green,
the vlog, and interviewed their one of their founders.
Yeah,
which was really cool. And like the USL 2 is definitely a cool and interesting league that's like rapidly growing in certain cities. So
Men in Blazers made their way up to Vermont when we were up there. We caught a live show.
That's sick.
Raj
Dude,
was
that's dope.
incredible. Yeah.
I'll send you guys a scarf for sure.
definitely,
Dude, please do. Yeah,
that's
text
really-
you'll
yeah,
see it
we'll text
literally
the
the day that it gets here. You'll see it the next episode.
Fuck yeah.
We'll place the Liverpool champions one.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you which one comes down to make room. Oh, that's
Awesome.
bro. I love it, man. I love it. So look, you guys met in college. You kind of, you started. Well, we didn't talk about what led. I mean, COVID led to you guys having the show, putting it together. But you guys also had to have some takes that led you to believe that people want to listen to this on the internet, right? So I don't know, back in the day or even now, who's got the ball knowledge in the crew?
Oof. I think I'll fall on my sword here. So I didn't start watching. I started watching the Prem in college, freshman year of college. I was a huge Coutinho fan, and that's how I grew into watching Liverpool. And I think I'm an individual that gets checked on my ball knowledge quite a bit because I don't have the historical aspect of the Premier League. And I find myself sometimes talk myself into corners, and Andrew does check me quite frequently on the historical knowledge of the game.
I'd say first. I
was gonna say you guys are both selling yourselves a little bit short. If anyone's gonna fall in the, I definitely have the least. No doubt about that. Like I don't want that to devalidate anything.
I think you have current day ball knowledge.
Current day.
Yeah, Tristan has. I think I have historical ball knowledge along with Jalen, and then Connor I check a lot.
Yeah,
but Connor's getting ball knowledge. I mean,
also I played my whole life. I mean, obviously Andrew did too, and Jalen, but I was just like I'm a tactical minded player, and that's how I was. So like when I'm watching for different things, and then I try to carry those things into my arguments. So that's where I try to pick my battles and really take down Andrew and his.
Hey, Tristan, quick question. So I know you mentioned you were a volleyball guy. Then how did you get into soccer then? Because I mean, is it just watching or?
It was honestly like I fell in love with Tottenham immediately. I remember starting to watch games around the same time my brother did, and he's actually a huge Arsenal fan. Despite that, I love him very much. He visits me quite often, and we love to watch together. But we never watch our teams play each other or like in the same room. But no, it was a Tottenham side that I saw play in little old White Hart Lane every week, and they played loud and they played noisy. And they possessed the ball, and they didn't give a shit who they drew that week, but they showed up and they got it done. It was like the Poch glory days. And even though it was all new to me, I could tell right away that there was something about the club I liked very much. It's crazy to see how that's changed ever since. I still love them, obviously, but it's like new giant stadium, a bunch of big time coaches, a few players coming and going, some bad investments, some really close calls, some we were right theirs, but no, it just was something that right away I was like, this is the most entertaining possible thing. And I loved waking up early as shit on a Saturday morning when all my roommates were hungover and asleep and just watching all morning.
Tristan's honeymoon phase has faded quite quickly.
Yeah.
He now knows the true meaning of
now you call it a victim of Tottenham.
The hatred at times is real.
Now I'm pretty sure there's no one that hates Tottenham more than I do.
He's a real fan. Real fan now.
Yeah. I love them, but I hate them more than anything sometimes. But that's kind of my like origin story. I really do credit it to that Kane, Eriksson, Jan Vertonghen, Alderweireld era of Spurs that really made me fall in love with them. So,
Lucas Moura.
Oh man, forever a legend. Forever a
Champions
legend.
League run. Yeah, that was
Me and Andre watched that game together. That honestly, that second leg was still
one of the wildest
craziest
games
openings to a game I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think maybe the best half of football we might, besides the World Cup, obviously, that sort of trumped
Well,
all.
yeah, that's its own
game
thing.
of all time
Yeah.
contests. But respectfully, I agree with that too. So
Yeah, and that brings up an interesting point, right? That's how Tristan got into it. I mean, Andrew, Connor, like you mentioned, Andrew being more historical, Connor maybe being a little more recent. Like, I don't know, was there a single player that got you into it? Why United? Why Liverpool?
I mean, obviously, I grew up playing similar to Connor. Been playing since I could walk. I didn't watch soccer as much until end of middle school, like freshman year of high school, and my brother was a United fan, and Chicharito played for them, and I have Mexican roots, and my dad would follow Chicharito wherever he goes, so I started watching Manchester United, and I watched like the season that they won the league for the last time with Sir Alex's last season, and that's what got me to stick to that club. And I'm a huge Ronaldo stan. I used to watch Ronaldo videos growing up all the time, like I used to watch that documentary on YouTube that is old as shit, and I used to watch it like once a week. I just loved watching it. I loved watching
the one he produced, or which one?
It was I don't know who produced it. It's so old, and it's probably like I don't know. I honestly have to look it up. I haven't watched it in like I don't know how long I haven't watched it in, but I used to watch just every single thing he did and try to emulate it on the pitch and all that stuff, but obviously will never hit the heights of Ronaldo, but that he was my player growing up, him and Zidane. And that's what got me to fall in love with United and watching the game itself. I love the history of football rather than the modern era. Like I love how big it felt when you'd see a UCL banner, any of that, when it's like Barca, Madrid, United, Liverpool, like the game seemed bigger then, in my opinion. So I'm still in love with like the renaissance of football.
Andrew, a combat sports guy, and Zidane headbutting, I think, really. Yeah. I like this guy. This guy's ability to headbutt someone in the chest really hard. Yeah. I like that a lot.
But so that's what I did a lot of deep dive into the history of the sport and used to watch documentaries on different finals and all that stuff. So I love the game because of that and continue to watch it because of that.
Another somewhat short-lived honeymoon period, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah, that's how you know I'm a real fan. I'm not one of these city guys walking around and said I was a fan 5 years. I was 5 years ago, and then I was like,
yeah, that's still not really saying anything, though. Yeah, they were still really good back then.
Man City established 2008. Yeah, bro. I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, me and Andre have this conversation, I feel like, a lot. Connor, what about you, man? Liverpool is also very historical club. I mean, does any of that play into it, or did you just kind of just start looking to Liverpool players and you found the bond quickly?
Yeah. So the history I didn't know when I first started watching them. Coutinho was really the player that I watched. I mean, the little curly-haired Brazilian. I've always had the highest respect for Brazilian players because they have the flair on the ball that I could never find in my playing days. So I just really enjoyed watching it. And the fact that him cutting in on his right foot could create so much power that no one expected. He was kind of this little innocent player he was the player I fell in love with. And as I grew to know more and more about Liverpool, they have that chip on their shoulder.
The worst Connor got.
They have that edge. I mean, they do leave it all on the field. Anfield, I can't say enough good things about it. We actually got to go to England and tour the stadium. I wish I got to watch a match there, but that's kind of what it's about. The energy, all of that. Klopp came in. He's just like one of my favorite people on the planet.
Kind of ruined coaches for you because you'll probably never get one that you like that much. Seriously, when's the next time?
I believe it.
As legendary a coach.
Yeah, especially with the way our club's doing business at the moment.
Yeah,
we won't even pay a manager when he leaves. We'll just go without one on this touchline. But yeah, so and then I mean Torres, Suarez, like I think those are players that like even Sturridge, like the SAS days of Liverpool. The
Warrior kits.
I have watched those clips.
The Warrior kits
scored. Like it's a team that could always score goals in bunches and just never defend. On the counter.
You know what I watch all the time too? Liverpool, the Gerrard slip. You know that.
Really, I knew someone was gonna. I was waiting for either Tristan or Andrew to bring it up. I was like, Dembaba, they're gonna bring it all in.
Of all the names I didn't mention Gerrard, and I was a midfielder. I loved playing as an 8. And he's just still, in my opinion, the most complete midfielder, arguably, of all time. So obviously I'll go to bat for that. But that's how, yeah.
That's a hell of a shout. I would give Andrew's boy Paul Scholes a run for that money. But
true. Chewing on his dog.
I've heard it.
Good man, Jose. Good man.
Bro, I'm sorry, man. I would have taken that man at Arsenal or Barcelona any day of the week. Like he easily is such a complete footballer.
Yeah,
he's probably my greatest Prem midfielder of all time, just in my opinion. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, look, boys. I mean, I think the origin stories are super important for a show like this because obviously you guys are we're all really aware, right? At the end of the day, we're the one place on earth I feel like where this game hasn't taken over everything culturally. I think from our audience's perspective, super key to understand how you guys got into it, especially someone like Tristan, I think, or even Connor, where you guys maybe didn't have that historical aspect, but yet bring a fucking ton of passion, right? The passion that we see on television when we get up early as shit on the weekends, every Saturday, every Sunday morning. Which leads me to again, going back to the show and the Howlers pod, you guys decided, okay, cool. We're going to put our stamp and our ball knowledge on the internet, right? We're going to do it. We're going to start our show. We're going to start scaling this thing up. I'm just kind of curious, like when you guys think about this, right? Is there an end goal? Is there a dream outcome for what you guys are trying to do with the show?
Yeah, get rich with you guys. That's
that's my dream outcome too. That's my dream outcome, 100%.
We've always talked about, I mean, from a monetization standpoint, how nice it would be to be able to call this a career. And I think that's definitely still the end game. But I mean, for me, and I guess like you guys can each give your experiences, but for me, the greatest part has been truly the people we've met along the way, which is the cheesiest possible answer. But in the 3 years to look back and be like, man, we met with the founders of Vermont Green. We went to Hartford and survived a literal monsoon and filmed a game. And we've been to Charleston now a couple times. We talked with the owner last week, who is a really cool dude. So the American soccer culture, while there's still a lot of growing to do, especially in the USL. The response is just so incredible, and they're super passionate and crazy supportive of what we do. And that's like a huge motivator, honestly.
I think Tristan said it perfectly. I think the monetization piece is something that everyone strives for. But at the end of the day, it's the process. And that's also kind of a corny thing, but it is just the truth. And if this was to wrap up at the end of the season, I would look back on it extremely fondly, because it's like I did what I wanted to do and try it and got to meet, like Tristan said, really fucking cool people, like high level people in the sport of soccer, trying to grow it in the US specifically, and that are making waves. So we are now in like the context of, like, I'm not like name dropping here, but it's like we have like made connections with people that have a very important role in the growth of the game. And just being able to go to a game and like like this was the weirdest thing that's happened. I was at the Charleston Battery game and someone was like they took a picture with me and said they were a huge fan. Like that's gotta be I'm not like trying to boast by saying this. That's just a weird thing to happen. And they were really cool. And we talked for like 40 minutes, and they're a supporter of a small podcast like ours. Like that goes such a long way. And to me, that's like, I don't care about any money in the world. Like to me, that's more important, is I got to like be like, someone likes to listen to me talk about soccer, which is fucking crazy in my eyes. But
did you guys envision that when you first started like 3 years ago? Did you think, oh, we could get that big, like, within 3 years or whatever it is?
I thought as soon as Andrew opened his mouth, so I definitely did not see that coming whatsoever.
I feel like at the time that we started doing this, a huge inspiration was all of the other YouTube footballing content that I'd seen. I saw a lot of people do what we're doing right here, setting up a table, getting some microphones, putting together a set. And with that, I think there's obviously a sort of, the market's a bit saturated at this point because of how easy that is to do, no doubt. But I really liked exploring people's content, and that's kind of what's always inspired me to not only do it, but also feel like we can be successful doing it, because I see what other people are doing, what's worked for them. And, it's important to take note of that stuff. But the nice thing about the game being underdeveloped here is we feel like, especially with the USL, it's sort of an untapped market. I mean, we always love our Prem content, but the USL content, like we said, is at a really good response, and everybody's super amenable, and willing to say, oh, I know the owner of Tampa Bay Rowdies, or, oh, I know the head coach at this club and he'd love to talk to you guys. He'd love to. And everybody's response, no matter what the position, has been the same. And that's, oh, it's great that you guys are just providing more coverage to do this.
Yeah. And like, just to piggyback on that, because that's a great, I think, tee up for this untapped opportunity, right? With the USL. Do you guys think that, like, I don't know, because it doesn't get as much attention or love as all the leagues that are mainstream, right? Whether it be Europe or MLS or League IMAX here. With USL, there's so much opportunity to, for accessibility, right? To talk to players, coaches, staff, whoever it really may be. I don't know. Do you see a world where instead of having pundits or analysts that are hired by, legacy media to go out and do those interviews or capture those stories? I don't know. Do you guys see a world where they look at someone like you who's already built the trust and the rapport with those folks and say, hey, we want to talk to them. We want them to tell our story. I mean, I can see it. Do you guys ever envision that kind of world or that kind of work?
Yeah, I think the shift is taking place. I had the opportunity to speak with someone pretty high up at ESPN in the social department, and to bridge the gap with these old gray-haired pundits, I think there's already networks that are turning to creators in different spaces to pull in that younger generation and that other audience. So I think the shift is happening with the USL Championship. It is indeed a place. I mean, I forget where I saw it. I think it was a tweet, but it's like, we have Wrexham, a documentary blowing up, and it's like this low level of English football. Meanwhile, you can watch a pretty high standard of football, and that's not comparing the levels of football in England to the United States, but like, we can watch that on home soil. You can get there, you can get to a stadium more than likely, and watch it and absorb that and feel the nature of the game, the atmosphere and all that. So it's like, if we have all these people blowing up watching it on the couch and like, oh, this is great, Ryan Reynolds, like go see it for yourself. And I think with the USL Championship, by us getting our boots on the ground, that's what we're hoping people do. Like, get out, go support, because they need your support too. And it does have to be a community. But to your point, I think, yes, the creators could be those individuals that are on set and calling shots, saying how it should be, and it probably will be a lot more entertaining than some of these footballers that just chalk it up to, oh, I would have done this back in the day.
I think, and to add to that point, like you said, people like a sense of personality, and the Premier League does it best. Tristan's a huge supporter of like the likes of Peter Drury and the ability to
Peter Drury,
string words together. They were talking about like the Brighton situation, Chelsea.
It's the best. I mean, looking at what American sports looks like, I feel like we as Americans, you could say we're biased towards the American leagues, but as Premier League fans first, it's kind of the opposite. But comparing the two, you really can't even do it. It's the product is 1,000 times better. One, because of the format. So Premier League, it's like American sports, there's playoffs. That kind of sucks a lot of the life out of the regular season. There's been a ton of problems with like teams tanking. It's just not that interesting. It's not that fun to watch at a certain point until the playoffs come. Obviously, soccer in the world has cured that by making the regular season the playoffs, which I could never understood how Americans never got caught onto that. But your point, like, hearing Peter Drury and Graham Lasso talk for 15 seconds is more nutritional and enlightening than 3 hours of like ESPN football content where like Stephen A is just screaming at somebody who I don't know who played in the NFL 30 years ago, like also screaming back at him. And they're just like arguing about a team that never even existed if they could be like 86 Miami Heat. I'm like, how is this even the same type of industry? Like Peter Drury, again, talking about Brighton, he's like, it's their stadium is called they maximize their players' worth by like 500%. It's no wonder that their stadium's named after a credit card. And Graham was like, oh man, now it's sponsored by Chelsea. And they're just laughing. Like, no, literally that's like, it's like a podcast moment. Like you wouldn't get that from any American sport over any coverage. But I don't think anything comes even remotely close from a coverage aspect.
And I think having creators like ourselves, other people on GOLZtv that you've partnered with, and anyone else that's not within the circle, there is an opportunity. And like Connor mentioned, if you get, and I'm not going to tell where people should spend their money, but if you go to these stadiums and support, that will feed these clubs to create bigger stadiums and more of a soccer community. So you don't have to go watch it on TV on a documentary. You can go and experience it and be a part of it yourself. And when we talked to Rob Salvatore last week, that's something he mentioned. And the development of Patriots Point, which is their home stadium, and with more fans brings new opportunities for growth. And I mean, I was at the game 3 weeks ago. It's a fucking show. It's fun. It's outdoors. There's beer. There's food. There's chanting. There's drums. It's an exciting. USL football is it's professional football. It's exciting and it's really, really tactically driven.
I see it firsthand. Sorry, not to cut you off. I was just gonna say I see it firsthand here in Seattle. Obviously, it's a huge market, right? The Sounders are big. Cascadia Cup with Vancouver and Portland. The PNW is just booming with soccer. But the second that Ballard started 2 years ago, you started seeing Ballard shirts, all over the city. People at work who only watch like the World Cup, for example, would start going to games, supporting local. All the sponsors are, local breweries here in Seattle. So like the whole like culture behind Ballard FC is what I love about it. I was at the airport. I think it was in like Miami or in Atlanta recently, and somebody was wearing a Ballard shirt, but it was one that said Paris, Rome, London, Ballard at the bottom. It's kind of cool, right? Like you're kind of making it like everybody watches the EPL and like all these like big Champions League clubs, but like fucking Ballard is a tiny little neighborhood in Seattle. So I think that's going to help with more growth for the league. One question that I had for you guys before we move on to something else is, how do you guys feel about the whole idea behind promotion and relegation? Because I know that I hear different takes here and there, but the thing is, the reason why I'm asking it is because obviously it affects what the product on the field is going to be for USL. So I don't know what your guys' take on it is, and just want to.
And when is, by the way, before we jump in, when is the pending vote? Was it moved to December?
Yeah, I think it's end of the year.
Got pushed. Yeah, that's what Rob was saying. They hadn't made it. Rob's the owner of Charleston Battery, by the way. If we bring him up by first name, Rob, that's Salvatore. Salvatore.
Yeah, first name basis. Got it.
Yeah, who's Rob and why do I care about Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said they hadn't voted on it yet, but that's something that we've made sure to include in pretty much most interviews we've done, especially with anybody connected to the USL. Rob was probably the best person you could possibly talk to as an owner, since they drive everything, not just in the USL, but in every single league. But he said, obviously, it's an incredibly nuanced thing. And an important thing to understand is, especially Andre in Seattle with all of the different clubs there still is obviously no link to the USL and MLS. And I feel like for promotion relegation to really work as good as it possibly can, for everybody to be pulling from the same pot of money, there has to be some sort of relationship that's established. And as far as we can tell from talking to fans, there is very little, and there's a large gap that needs to be bridged. The USL fans aren't happy with the MLS commissioner, and he's been pretty dismissive of most USL sides. So I think that's the shitty part of it, is for it to be a true system of promotion relegation. Everybody needs to be involved, because the fact of the matter is, when it comes to soccer, America is not big enough to justify two different leagues like that.
Yeah, and they also talked about, like, you can't just jump into a shiny object, or you can't just make a move because it's a shiny object. You have to look at the potential consequences. And to your point of product on the pitch, like, what are the repercussions of a promotion relegation for these teams that are essentially small businesses, which Rob Salvatore spoke to? So owning them in themselves is already a super huge risk. Like, how much does that affect? How effective will it even be if these teams can't even afford to be promoted or relegated, or to be relegated? Exactly. So there's so many layers to it, and he definitely is someone that sounded like he wants it to happen, but it's a matter of, like, there has to be a lot put in place and a lot of things sorted out before that can even happen.
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly. My bold prediction for that, I think USL may or may not adopt it, but I agree with you guys wholeheartedly. I think, they're not going to find a way to bridge MLS and USL. I think MLS grows to, what are we at, 32? what they do.
Yeah,
something like that.
and more on the way. I think San Diego just got picked as an expansion side, and now those USL fans are thinking, "What the fuck's going to happen to our team? Are you going to take our team? Is there a new team coming? Is there going to be 2 San Diego teams now?" So
yeah, and so I think with that, right? I think it's with 2025 expansion teams, it's probably at 32 now. I think it gets to 40, and MLS creates a closed version of the system. I think that they do an MLS 1 and MLS 2, 20 teams a division, and call it a day. Give the fans what they want, kind of, while still raking in every dollar they possibly can.
Yeah. I think the USL championship and the promotion relegation that they're going to propose is in an effort to also stay relevant. So hopefully if they can beat the MLS to it, it'll maybe give them a little bit more power in the negotiating room. But whether, again, as you say, if the MLS is unwilling to have a conversation, there's not much that they can do. But if it goes very well, maybe there is a hope.
Yeah. What do you? I mean, you guys are both in big soccer markets, Pacific Northwest. Jose, you're in Texas, correct?
Yeah, Dallas. Yeah, it's a big soccer market. Yeah.
Is that the view of the fans where you guys are largely? Like, are they in favor of a promotion relegation system that includes MLS, or do they like to have their dinner separate, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, you know what's crazy about Dallas is that the fan bases are very split. So like you have the, let's call them the suburban affluent demographic, which is the primary demographic of FC Dallas, for example, right? FC Dallas missed out on all of the Dallas proper fans, which a lot of them are Hispanic. A lot of them, kind of grew up playing in and around Fair Park and downtown. When you put the stadium 35, 40 minutes north of that, it attracts the people that live around it, which all have money, which all feed the youth system and the academies. They're paying the way for that famous academy system that exists over there. Those guys don't really care, right? The Dallas demographic today, I would say, doesn't really care whether pro rel exists. FC Dallas is kind of like a family fun activity. It's an attraction in the area that's relatively cheap and kind of resonates with what they probably have their kids doing on the weekend anyway. I would say the more diehard fans in and around Dallas area, which is kind of where I'm at, so to speak. Yeah, we want pro rel, but I think sometimes too much. I think touching back on what Andrew said, the consequences, jumping at a shiny object. I don't think we think about stuff like that. I think we think about it from the fans' perspective, when in reality, pro rel, there's probably going to be a hard winner and a hard loser, and it can't be fans and the administration of these teams both winning. Like someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. So I think we're very, very split here in Dallas. I don't know about the Pac Northwest up there with Andre.
I think, it's a little bit like that. But the other thing too that you can't forget about is that Seattle has actually won a lot, and so people here are always like, "Well, shit, like we're kind of a legacy club in the MLS. Like, what are they going to do without us?" Type of thing. It's like the mentality here is Ballard is its own thing. Tacoma Defiance is its own thing. The Sounders are their own thing. OL Reign are their own thing. Like fans look at each individual club as its own little product within those leagues, and that's it. Like they don't want to mix and match. They don't want. That's why that shirt was made, right? The Rome, Paris, London, Ballard, because they're like, yeah, we fucking belong in our own thing, and we own it. So I think it has to be, to Jose's point, it has to make sense and it has to be the right product for it to work. But I don't think fans are like dying for it.
This is what happens when you don't start things the right way, man. Like if you don't start things the right way, you got to backpedal so damn hard. And I feel like I've been saying this for years. It's just it's now at a point where there isn't a mutually beneficial solution. It's like we're gonna find a way to fuck over somebody hard, and it is what it. And 9 times out of 10, it's the people who don't have money or not in positions of power. Don Garber's already been very, very vocal about. Dude, he doesn't even like Open Cup, right? Like doesn't even like US Open Cup. He kind of shits on it. Says the tournament's not worth watching or prioritizing from an MLS perspective.
It's not worth putting on Apple TV, which, as far as I know about technology, you just create a new page on Apple. It's not like you need to go into back-breaking labor to stream a Leagues Cup game or US Open.
The fact that it's behind closed doors too. It's it's just really ridiculous.
Yeah. And when there are real fan bases for those clubs, I mean, they should be on full display.
I was surprised to hear you say that, Jose, because Dallas is one of the original 10 MLS. They started as Dallas Burn, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah,
So
they're legacy MLS. They're 1.0 club. And yeah, man, and that's the thing. When they had Dallas Burn, they were playing in Fair Park at the Cotton Bowl. Granted, it was the Cotton Bowl, and it was kind of bowl down, but it attracted what I consider to be the true fan base. In 2003, when they transitioned to Frisco and FC Dallas, and this is why, Austin and Houston fans, in terms of in-state rivalry, will call us FC Frisco and not FC Dallas, but it's legitimately like 40, 45 minutes north. Like it's a good ways. And back then when they first transitioned, there was nothing. None of it was developed. There was no real estate out there. It was all just farmland. And then boom, there's a Toyota Stadium. Or back then it was Pizza Hut Park. Pizza Hut Park in the middle of nowhere off of a tollway.
That's kind of a baller name for a stadium, though. Pizza Hut Park. It's kind of funny and cartoonish, but like,
yeah.
like Smoothie King
it sounds a lot like the Revolution, to be honest. Like New England Revolution is 45 minutes. If you're coming to, or even a Patriots game, don't stay in Boston because you gotta get your ass 45 minutes.
You gotta stay in Foxborough.
Yeah.
Isn't Chicago like that? Isn't the Bridgeport a ways away from
it is, but the Fire are back
in Soldier Field, right?
Yeah, and it's similar. Here in Seattle, you're downtown. I was just at the game this past weekend, and it's so easy to get to.
It's so nice, man. It's so nice.
Where the Seahawks play.
It's so underrated. Yeah, when I have to drive 45 minutes to go watch a game, I got to be really like you got to be a diehard. You got to be like, I'm totally fine with like the 2-hour round trip essentially with traffic and everything else. And that invest into the team, the game, the fan experience. And if you're not, which I assume many states are in this country are that way, I think it's kind of naive to pretend that they're just going to show up. I don't know. But again, we're here. And now you look at Frisco, for those who are not familiar with that area, now it's super developed. They're like building a Universal Studios out here.
Oh shit!
Oh wow!
Yeah.
That's kind of wild.
That sounds terrible. I like from a person who lives here already. I'm like, oh my god, that sounds terrible.
We're all like, wow, that sounds pretty soulless. But that's
and it's gonna be like roughly like maybe I don't know what down the street. It's a pretty long road, but down the street from like where the stadium, dude, that whole part of Frisco is just gonna be a gridlock. Like it's going to be insane. But anyway,
they're trying to do like a Disney complex. You know how down in Florida you've got like baseball fields and shit.
Yeah, there's so much money out in Frisco now. And everything's completely taken it over retail wise and whatnot. But they just built everything around the FC Dallas Stadium. And so when you go there now, it looks very well developed. But back when they first moved it years and years ago, it just made no sense. But this probably was the long-term play, to be honest.
Yeah, Dallas Cup is there still, right? Those have like 12 fields or
Generation Cup and stuff like that. Like Dallas Cup's not quite as big of a youth international tournament as it used to be. It's still pretty big. Dallas is a massive soccer market. I would say 9 times out of 10 it's like a top 2 or top 3 youth soccer market. But now we just with all the development that's coming, it'll be interesting to see how this whole area pans out.
And the World Cup, dude. The World Cup's gonna be big. I think if you guys get
World Cup final
four,
in Jerry World, dude,
that's just gonna be fucking crazy.
It's like Connor brought up though. From people that are not from the United States and not familiar with how Boston works or how Gillette works, they're gonna end up staying in the North End in some beautiful apartment, and they're gonna look at their phones on Google Maps and be like, "Wait, it's an hour and a half to get here. Like we don't have a car."
That's without traffic too.
Without traffic,
it's an hour and a half.
No, but it's probably on the best day you can get from here to Gillette in 35-40 minutes, and that's if it's quick as a whistle. But leaving the game it can be kind of a mammoth. But we've been harping on that for a while. We've been saying for a long time that the Revs would benefit largely from their own soccer specific stadium, and a lot of MLS sides have gotten that dramatically correct. The one in Sporting Kansas City comes to mind. Children's Mercy Park is beautiful. Minnesota modeled their stadium after Allianz Arena in Germany. So it's like Allianz Field in Minnesota, but they have a giant beer hall. I mean, the soccer specific stadiums are the ways to do it, but I mean, we're like 5 to 10 years off of that.
Louisville City in the USL Championship is probably the nicest stadium.
Yeah. They come to play, but
I gotta check that out. Well, while we're on this topic, by the way, we'll go to the icebreakers here in a few minutes. But I'm really curious because Andre asked a good question. And it leads me to a question I typically include in the show in some form or variation, right? I always ask some variation of you guys being creators, you guys absorbing this content and all of the banter and the shithousery that is the internet of football. We all do, right? We consume it probably more than the average fan. What do you think it's really going to take I have a very bold claim that soccer will eventually be, viewership-wise, a top 2 sport in this country. If we're going to get there, whether you guys agree that that's going to happen or not, if we were going to get there, what do you think it would realistically take? Like, what would it be? Time? Would it be someone else just as big as Messi coming to MLS? Would it be pro-rel, getting to this part of the world? Like, is there one thing that you think that it would really take for us to get to that level of NFL, NBA type of viewership and fandom?
I don't know that the answer to this question is particularly pretty in America, but I'd have to think money. If we're going to try and get viewership up, it requires first buying big time players. So a lot of that money needs to go to MLS, and it'd have to be a lot like the Saudi Pro League, I imagine, in terms of having to offer players pretty insane wages to get them to come to the United States. I don't think Miami's the worst place to end up. There's a lot of awesome cities that players could live in, but I think we'd have to go the Saudi League approach and get a lot of money from a lot of different investors and just see who we could get to come here and stay here, because I think that'll be another problem with the Saudi League, is how many players actually end up there. But it sucks to say, because Americans have brought so much money to the game already. There was already a lot of money there, but with that said, I think it would require some owners to say, hey, we'll pay Mbappe whatever he wants to come play for FC Cincinnati for a season, and let's just
imagine Mbappe in Cincinnati. I think of wasn't there that rumor with Ronaldo, right, coming to Sporting Kansas City?
Yeah.
Could you imagine Ronaldo stepping off his private jet into Kansas? In Missouri, just to be like, dude, where the hell am I?
He just stepped into a tornado.
Yeah.
You're like, Mendes, where am I?
Yeah, they're like, we can't land the plane because there's 6 tornadoes going on right now. It's like, where the fuck am I? Where did you fly me to? What's a tornado?
When it comes to MLS and US soccer, I'm pretty harsh on a lot of that stuff. I feel like we as Americans think we're way far along than we really are. I think the MLS is kind of a joke to the rest of the world of football, in my opinion. I think you look at Messi just dominating the last 6 games he's played in. And he had a hard time, not a hard time doing that in France, but he didn't look as lively as he does right now in Miami. And people talking about MLS for Saudi League would destroy MLS teams, in my opinion, at this point. And I think U.S. soccer and the way we look at, we should be the best because we invest all the money. I think money's not the answer. I think it's what's competitive, what's rooted in sport in this country, what's affordable. Soccer's not cheap in this country. It's very expensive if you want to play at a high level. And I just feel like, if anything, it's going to take time. I think time is what will make this sport more popular, and a more emphasis on quality over what is the nicest stadium what's the nicest stadium in the US. That's me. I have a very harsh point of view on when it comes.
That's not even that bad, if we're being honest, Andy.
Yeah, okay. I just see that as I just feel like everyone thinks that the MLS and the US soccer is so far along, when it really is just, it should be farther along by the point, but all the money we've invested.
Yeah, I agree. I hate to take the easy answer and saying time. Money is a factor. I think we've built a good shell of what it could be with the infrastructure and the progress, but you can't speed up rivalries. You can't speed up producing talent. That all has to come. Luckily, it probably will happen faster in the United States because we have so many people, and as the systems at a youth level grow and the coaching gets better and European coaches start to come over, you can see that happening at club level for young players. But time is the one, you can't speed it up. You're never going to have a Liverpool-Manchester United rivalry in the United States until they've been playing each other for hundreds of years. That's just how it is. So I think the shell is there. I think it'll happen faster than maybe it did in the course of history in England or Spain. But to get to that level, to get to the top class footballing level, just time.
And you brought, oh, sorry, Andre.
No, go ahead.
You brought the point of Jose, of where the hardcore Dallas fans are, and it's not in the MLS team. It's in the team that's not getting eyes as much as the MLS. So I think USL, you see a lot more USL League One, USL Championship, USL League Two. You see a lot of people in that league way more passionate than probably most MLS fans, and that have an actual rivalry with their rival club. Like you see Tampa Bay and Charleston, like a huge rivalry. Like that's it for an American standpoint, it is like a Liverpool United like rivalry almost. It's like it's not as big, but it's something that is like historically built and it's taken time. And those diehard fans resort to that league because they're more connected to it because it feels less like an amusement park, as you put it.
Yeah. A couple things that I was going to say before we kind of wrap it up here. One thing that Connor brought up that makes a lot of sense is I know you mentioned there's a lot of people here, period, right? Like there's more talent just across the board. Yes, but I will always play devil's advocate and say that in a country like Saudi Arabia, which is much smaller, right? Or even countries in South America, it's way easier to control a product across the country. Whereas here you've got coasts, you've got regions, you've got, soccer is so different in all three of our regions right now, like Pacific Northwest compared to the Central, Texas, the Northeast. Like it almost feels like they're their own little leagues, right? Like when you talk about, the Pacific Northwest versus, how soccer is in Florida, for example, totally different. So that's one thing. The other thing is MLS, or I guess soccer as a whole in the US, cannot be made as a product the way that all the other big four sports are. Like you can't expect the MLS to be an NBA or to be, an NHL or an NFL or an MLB. Like those legacy sports work in the US because they're a cultural, phenomenon that happened hundreds of years ago. But here, right, when we're talking about soccer right now and the way that, to Andrew's point, how it compares the product on the field to Saudi Arabia, I completely agree with you. I think the Saudi pro league teams would destroy the MLS teams.
How much they spend, by the way, total money? If we're just like if you put a number on it, right?
As a league?
Yeah, like on all the salaries, all the transfer fees.
Yeah,
Dude,
unlimited.
It's stupid, right?
Yeah.
And I can't even think on like what that astronomical number and figure would be. It almost makes you think, damn, what would America have to spend?
What do we need to spend? Exactly.
Yeah, what do we need to spend to really get to that level? And they're obviously our timelines are way different. They're trying to do it in fucking, I don't know, in a year and a half or 2 years, get to one of the top leagues in the world.
Right.
But their best 11 versus our best 11, not even close, right?
And if you want to make a sustainable product, you don't want to do it the Saudi Pro League way. You want to do it the way legacy. Like
wouldn't hurt to fire up the printing press.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I step outside and step through the ground and hit oil, and I'm like, "Oh my god, the Revs are about to be the best team ever made."
In my opinion, what they should do is go to South America and find more Thiago Almadas, find more Alan Velasco's. Like go find these guys that frankly, this is what big giant European. I mean, the scouting system that clubs like Real Madrid and Barcelona have in Brazil, and countries like Brazil and Argentina, massive. And I think that if and more importantly, it's cheap as hell from their perspective. If MLS clubs can kind of have that type of strategy in mind, I think there's a real shot at being sustainable. Because if you can be even the development league, if you're just the league that is a farmhouse, right, for god tier talent, and you're shipping out talent consistently to Europe year after year, there's no way other countries and leagues across the world won't take that seriously, right? Like I don't know. I think that there's a lot to be said about what they built down there and why we can't learn from that side of the world versus us trying to mimic what's in Europe or Saudi or anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely fair.
That's an unforeseen benefit of, I think, Messi, being that he might be planting his roots down here for a good chunk of years. Like a lot of players that obviously look up to him from South America, maybe they'll get dragged up this way and play in Messi's academy or some version of it, hoping that it brings and draws the talent here if he kind of sets his roots down and all the business, associates that he now has made friends with.
He's going to get corrupted, and it's going to be like, it's like lean on Messi's academy, $2,000 for
bro, I joke about that all the time. I was like, he's gonna go down the US youth soccer rabbit hole of money, bro.
3 months for $2,000. You have to pay like $300 for a jersey. You have to give it back at the end of the season.
Part of the Apple TV deal is that they have some of his sperm, and they're going to create. They're gonna put more Messi's into the U.S. soccer system that way, and then in like 20 years, we're gonna be a problem all over the world.
Until all of those kids' dads pull a Gio Reyna's dad and go out there and start complaining about playing time.
Son, I decided you're German. We're packing.
Yeah, man. I don't know. There's so many, like cracks, right, to kind of fill, so to speak. But at the end of the day, there's a lot to be excited about. But I totally agree with everything you guys just said. I think we take a step back, a little dose of reality. Long way to go. I think we don't have to mimic what's already been built in terms of American sports. I think there are studies out there. The only thing that unites America from an entertainment perspective, holistically, it's not sports, it's not religion, it's politics. Election night is the only thing that pulls in just about everybody in America. So I don't know if we could ever try to go after that. It's like too big of a country. But I think just even rivaling just solely based on only one metric, and that being just viewership and our own sense of culture, I wouldn't try to mimic what any other sport has. I think you have to treat it night and day different.
I think that's like a thing that I've learned in talking to the amount of people within the USL who have given their insights on promotion relegation. I think that is one of the end goals, and it would be really awesome. It would be great. I think that would, in my US soccer utopia, yeah, we do have this awesome streamlined system of promotion, relegation, these awesome stories like we see in the UK and other countries. But if it's not going to work for us, then why force it? If the USL is just more sustainable, being its own thing, maybe they figure out their own system and they grow that way, and MLS stays its own thing. Not that I want that, but it's like the alternative is forcing something like you guys have mentioned. It just ends up not working, and everything just kind of collapses.
It could. There's definitely variances of how you could, like, maybe it is to Andre's point, like maybe it is a regional promotional system where there is like this one path. It's a very narrow path, but you could get and squeeze like one team into that,
like the National League,
right,
in England,
right?
Yeah, so who knows?
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see how it all pans out. But look, man, I think no matter what, we got a little bit of everything today on this show. We're gonna test your guys' not really your ball knowledge, just more just like, again, get to know you guys a little bit better. Some icebreaker questions I would like for everybody to answer. And they're kind of fun, man. I want to get to know you guys a little bit better. But I feel like this show has encompassed everything from origin stories to banter, ball knowledge, where we see the sport going, the beautiful game on this side of the world. Hell of an episode, guys. Before we conclude though, icebreakers. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 8 questions, and then the same amount in quick fire form.
Love it.
All right. So yeah, almost 20 questions here. I think how I want to do this, should we go one at a time to do all of them, or should we do one question for everybody all at once?
I think one question, 3 answers, right?
Yeah, right.
We can hustle around the table.
Yeah, let's do a quick one. Yeah.
We'll keep it simple. All right. I think we already know. Well, let's just start with this. Favorite club?
Tottenham, baby.
Manchester United,
Liverpool.
All right, here we go. That's easy. All right, now favorite individual players.
Currently,
doesn't matter.
All time.
All time.
Heung-min Son.
All time.
Really?
Well, okay, maybe Harry Kane will be up there too.
Maybe he went to Bayern, so he's on. Yeah, he's dead to me now.
Now he's below. I'll go Sonny. He's my all-time favorite for sure.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Okay,
love it.
Steven Gerrard.
Man, I love it too. Recency bias is undefeated. I will say that.
That's true.
Favorite thing to do outside of watching football?
Play volleyball, probably. Drink beer. That sounds horrible. I just can't. Drink good craft beer curated by local breweries is how I'm
playing volleyball. Got it.
I like that.
Playing volleyball. Yeah, same time.
That's good marketing right there.
Jiu-jitsu.
Oh, nice. Combat sports guy. Love it.
Yeah.
I haven't been as good about doing it, but I really enjoy fishing, particularly on the ocean. Yeah.
Love that, bro. Love that. All right. Apple or Spotify?
I'm Apple, baby. I'm Apple all the way.
Really?
I'm Apple, but I'm a Spotify guy for like podcast only.
Interesting. All right.
I'm an Apple guy.
Damn, no Spotify lovers, bro.
I learned how to use. I've used Apple since day one, and now I'm like an old person. I'm terrified to learn anything else. So
I hate change. Yeah.
Don't make me learn.
Ronaldo or Messi?
Messi, easy.
We know Andrew's answer.
Ronaldo.
Messi.
And Jalen would have gone Ronaldo too. By the way, Jalen would have definitely been Team
nice.
Ronaldo, so it would have been 2-2.
You mean you mean to tell me the Man U and the Real Madrid guy would have gone Ronaldo? God,
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
Surprise.
Shocker.
Shocker. Fergie or Pep?
Oh,
I go Pep.
Well, we had this argument
Fergie.
recently.
Fergie.
Pep.
How did this argument go on the show? I'm just curious.
I won, and everyone else was
I think. Look, usually I'm the fence teeterer trying to ping points back and forth. I feel like to give an accurate synopsis of our view is that football was so different back then. It's more impressive that Fergie did what he did during that team and the industry in that time. But although Pep has had lots of money and great resources, no other coach could have done what he's done with this group of players.
That's
So
actually exactly how it went.
I think it was whichever side of that you believe more, which for me was Pep again.
I think it just became like we'll agree to disagree. Kind of thing.
100%.
Do we not think like the 2011 Champions League final kind of said it all?
Yeah. That's what I brought up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but
Jalen brought that up too. I think he would lean Pep for sure.
Yeah, but Jalen's usually more. He does he respects the history of the game very much. So I think when in doubt, he would go throwback. But
well, you talk, like United, Barcelona. I feel like that. I just feel like the teams were so unmatched by players on the pitch.
It is hard to compare football from those two time zones. I will.
Wait, are you talking about? I might have misheard what you said.
So I said 2011, but here's what I'll say. In that era, right, there was the 2 finals in 3 years between the two teams. And there was the 09 final, right? And Messi, getting the famous header over Van der Sar, holding his boot, running off. And then there's the 2011 final where you can argue without Ronaldo, United just, I don't want to say didn't have a chance. They had prime Rooney, prime a ton of other talent, but just didn't have that X factor in Ronaldo.
I think that team was very much that team was not as quality as that Barcelona team at all. I think you had
I don't think any team in history was, to be honest.
The Centurion City side, I still think is the best side ever, though. I like if you Pep's City side that had 100 points, 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, that team was wild. I actually said that's probably the closest team to rival that 2011 Barca team. And then the only reason I say that they're the best, I just had a kid 4 months ago. Okay, I'm gonna have to tell my son when he's older, try to convince him because he won't believe me that there was a team out there that never lost possession. That never lost the ball. They never lost it. They completely destroyed teams. They were winning Champions League matches 5, 6, 7-0. Messi was scoring 5 goals in the game. It was a team that could not be touched on paper.
Are you going to talk about a side that won 3 Champions League titles in a row? Or you're
fair, but that one individual team would have beaten any one of those 3 P teams.
That's fair.
What about you guys? Are you guys Fergie or Pep?
Oh, this was tough, man. I'm a historical guy like Andrew. I think for what Fergie had, man, at his disposal, without things like technology or the advancements with tactics. I mean,
electricity.
Yeah, the basics.
Running water.
Yeah.
Man, I say Pep, but it's a very narrow margin.
I'll go Pep.
I think football in mind like Pep.
I think the way Tristan put it is perfect. That's just what it is.
But I do think Fergie had.
I think we can move on to the next question.
He had advantages during his time, and with
he was a better man manager, though, right? You could argue.
All I'm hearing is Liverpool Klopp, Pep Linders, Liverpool.
Best of all time. Oh,
okay.
I take Fergie over Klopp, though, 100%.
Yeah, I would concede to that.
Yeah, I think it's a contest.
No, but
it's a great question to ask for this reason. Finally, football or soccer?
It's got to be football. I mean, I've said soccer on this podcast already, but I think
I've said it too, man. You're good.
If I say football to one of my friends who doesn't really watch football, they'll be like, "Dude, what are you, a jackass? This isn't Europe. You call it soccer." But here we call it football. With anybody else that watches, we say football. So I think it's are you in the club type thing.
Yeah,
football all the way.
Yeah, footy for sure.
Yeah, if I was playing it to a muggle, as I call them, then I call it soccer.
Or you got to freak out about when they're "Oh, I'm watching football this week," and you'd be like, "Oh, you mean American gridiron rules football?" Because that's what it's actually called. If you're going to be a name technician, that's really.
All right, quick fire. Okay, so one word that you think of when you hear the name, and we'll try to keep it a few seconds apiece. You guys, technically, whoever's going to go last of you 3 will have thought about it a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And maybe we can go in snake. I don't know. Maybe just to keep it.
I'll go. I can go first. I can take the lead off spot.
Pick up the caboose.
All right.
All right. Cool. All right. Here we go. You ready? Mourinho.
Asshole.
Stubborn.
Stickler. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Harry Kane.
Legend.
That's
elegant.
Kind of a Doofy.
That was so many words.
All hyphenated. It's all hyphenated.
Nobody said trophy list. That's wild to me.
Although
So-
I'm going last, you guys can both take my
You
words.
had the most
so-
time to think about it. You said a sentence,
He
and it wasn't
took
even
my
a
word
proper
for-
sentence.
so that-
Well, Connor, what was the word? What was the word you said?
Doofy.
Doofy.
He is.
Kind of like a lunk.
Nigel Thornbury looking fella.
Nigel
To be
Thornberry, bro.
England's captain? Come on, man.
Yeah. Legend though, generational. Would be what I would say.
Generational talent.
Bayern Munich legend. All right. Ronaldinho.
Incredible.
He struggled with that one.
Yeah.
Starstruck.
Best.
Oh, best. I like that one.
Best.
You're right, Connor.
VAR.
VAR.
United.
Howard Webb.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I can't even. Connor, you go.
Disgrace.
Annoyance.
Those are all good, man. Those are
Even
good. GOAT.
Harry Kane.
Stop, bro. We're not
Not
doing
Son?
that. You said Son was your favorite player. He's not the GOAT.
Not GOAT for me, and it's got to be one word. Pele.
Ronaldo. Fuck.
Messi.
Ooh.
All right. Roy Keane.
Hysterical. Outdated. Actually, I'm changing that to outdated. Funny, but shouldn't be behind a booth anymore.
Facts.
Hard.
Leg breaker with a hyphen.
You
gotta say
That could be one word. Leg breaker.
Is that one? Yeah, you can make that. You can turn that into one word.
Yeah, that's like
Hyphenated.
a dash in the middle.
Neymar.
a technician.
Flop. Well, not flop. Sorry. I meant to say
Man, I like that. I like
There's a
that.
promo clip right there. There's
I thought about the wrong. I meant to say like under like
We are horrible at this. for the
underwhelming.
record. We're not even gonna be able to clip this.
Save these for the end, bro. That's
Ask it again and we'll do it again. Please don't clip that.
I'm
about to end
I meant to
Andrew's
say
life.
like underperformed, like underwhelming. Yeah.
But you went with flop.
Starboy.
Starboy, bro. And you know what, Andrew? That's not a crazy take. You know what? I had a buddy of mine tell me earlier this past weekend. He was like, you know what's crazy? Kind of that same boat of what I just said about explaining to my kid one day. He was telling me, he's like, one day I'm gonna have to explain that Gareth Bale had a better career than Neymar.
True.
And I was like,
Yeah.
damn, that's crazy.
true.
Yeah,
Like, it's not even close.
I
either.
feel like flop is like you have 2 seasons and like you didn't do anything. That's like not Neymar at all, but it's like he had like 4 great seasons and then
so
just
much
like
potential.
pissed
Yeah.
off.
Freudian slip. Is he? And just to piggyback on that, is he the biggest what if player of all time?
Mbappe better get the
Ronaldinho.
hell out of France, or he's going to become the biggest what if player of all time. He needs to make a move. But yeah, I'd say Neymar would maybe be up there right now.
I think Mbappe's got the coverage because he has the World Cup, but
I'm not trying to see him win
Might.
league on for 15 seasons in a row. There,
He's got to move. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean Neymar just because of his name. I mean Pato was a big what if player. I feel there's a lot of them.
Ravel Morrison's a big one.
Yeah,
But like they're
Funny
not
guy.
they're not players that like Neymar like
we saw him at his
he was
best,
successful.
yeah.
Like, he won trophies. It's just like I think of what if like there was so much talent there and it went nowhere.
I will
Like,
say,
what if he'd stayed at
Giovanni Dos
Barcelona?
Santos.
Oh, that
Yeah.
guy too.
Yeah, like if he stayed at Santos, like and then nothing ever happened, like what if?
he might be the greatest jersey of all time. I will say the Neymar Brazil kid or a Neymar PSG kid or Barcelona. I feel like those were pretty. I mean, how many kids got that on
Yeah.
Christmas morning? Like he might.
Yeah.
I don't know what the all-time sales would be, but he's got to be up there in kits because that is a drippy kit.
Yeah.
Dude, he engineered that comeback against PSG almost by himself. Messi kind of, I think he contributed a little bit with 1 assist, but it was Neymar doing everything. So after that, like I say, biggest what if player because as a Barca fan myself, the fact that he just didn't want to stay and become the heir to Messi's throne just didn't make sense to me. It's like he wanted to step out of the shadow right then and there.
Yeah.
Anyway, MLS.
Somebody else go first.
American.
American.
Yeah. Like it's like so American. Like
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That is fair.
It's like Spurs being Spursy.
Yeah,
MLS is
that's
just
right.
American.
That's right.
Brings to mind showbiz.
I'll say Bernardeschi because I feel like he's
Scored Baker this
for
past weekend.
Toronto right now, doesn't he?
oh
Yeah.
Yeah, Bernardeschi plays for Toronto.
that's way worse than American.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Canadian.
He's
Question
like
mark?
a big time player. Just comes to mind. It should be Messi, but Bernardeschi is always what comes to. Save your Messi. I'll take Bernardeschi.
Yeah, it's had a good goal at the weekend.
It was beautiful.
Gareth Bale, speaking of earlier.
Golf.
Underrated.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Athlete, like just
Workhorse.
I would have gone with man bun. That would have.
I would have gone with
Yeah,
Mark
man,
Bartra,
um,
but
One of those hyphenated words that could be one word too, though.
Yeah.
So he snuck that in
We
there.
gave his what was his announcement pick with the flat brim hat? A bunch of stick. You
oh my
remember
god.
that?
You say he worked at like Zoomies with that.
Yeah. I actually, when I talk Gareth Bale, I always weirdly think sideline, and it's because that goal where basically the famous Gareth Bale
Oh,
goal,
yeah.
we booted up and sprinted like around the sideline.
That's what I thought of.
Sideline always like is sort of is one of those words.
Mark
that comes-
Bartra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, dude! I've never seen a display of speed like that. Like Bartra's not fast at all, and I knew that. But to see a player get absolutely just destroyed on a straight 50-yard sprint like that was wild. It was
Definitely
wild.
raw athlete for sure.
Yeah.
And as somebody who golfs and is horrible at it, I can confirm somebody also getting really good at golf like Bale did. That guy knows he can play sports. I'm
Yeah,
sure
natural.
there's several
He's a
sports that if he
natural
played,
athlete.
he'd be very, very
Oh, yeah.
good at. So,
Just a
I
freakish
could see him as a
athlete.
punt. I could see him as a punter in the NFL.
oh yeah, wide receiver, he'd be a problem. I'm sure.
If he has any hand-eye coordination.
Curling, if maybe
Curling,
he
maybe.
put his mind to
Curling.
it, be a hell of a curler if he really tried to. But
And finally, USL.
the future.
Potential.
Can I go underrated again?
Well, we've picked under. You guys have picked underrated for like 4 different things. So.
I'm gonna say my favorite. My favorite.
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 Pops.
Favorite.
My favorite. That's
American. Love it.
We got
Weekend.
2-word responses from Tristan and from Connor. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, boys. Look, that was it, man. And you guys played that game perfectly, man. That
Sorry we
was awesome.
butchered that
Butchered
so
that
horribly.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm sure the other 63 episodes you did went a lot better than that. But
The Neymar response was by far my favorite part of the
Yeah.
season. So I'm
Hilarious.
gonna say that right now.
Throw it up. I don't
yeah,
care.
Do it.
The Freudian slip. Oh man. And
I was like,
think
flop.
Get us some hatred views. I don't even care. Honestly.
Yeah,
I'll
just-
get this at
and
this
the thing
point.
is, you said it so fast, like you knew you had it ready.
Yeah.
I had like underwhelming.
It's almost like going into the episode, you're like, man, if they ask me what I think about Neymar, I think I'm gonna pick that.
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
it's I mean, he's a flop to at least some fans. He has to be.
Oh,
Either
yes.
way.
There is a
Yeah.
Neymar flop contingent, no doubt.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Throw it up.
So,
Let's
but,
get 'em all.
but they don't live in, they're not fans of Al Hilal. So, at the end of the day, he's got a whole new fan base to cater to now.
I'm an
so.
Al Halal day one guy, and most people know that about me. I'll be there. I'll be there. If I can safely get into the country, I will be there.
Hey, didn't Fox get those rights? Didn't Fox get Saudi League rights?
For Saudi League? I don't know.
Oh man, I hope it's like the CW or some funny
Maybe
like
some-
streaming service.
For context, Tristan's 6'7", so he's just in that crowd like towering, just
Yeah.
waving.
Yeah.
I'd be the
Dude.
tallest person in the Saudi league by 3 feet.
I'm there, bro. I'm there to watch and lock in. I think it's gonna be.
Let's
good.
go.
I
Let's
think
go.
it's gonna
Let's
be
link up.
All right, man, boys. This was fun. Tristan, Connor, Andrew, thank you all so much for joining the pod today, man. The vibes were immaculate. I think we all learned a ton about, the vibes that are just that can be well representative of the Howlers podcast. So for anybody who hasn't tuned into you guys before, where can they find you today?
Find us on, all our socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We're on LinkedIn too for that business outlook. And Spotify, Apple Podcasts, our link trees in our bios. You can find us there. We have a WordPress.
If you'd like to if you guys can read, I figure you guys are able to read like most people can your age. If you like to read, we got a blog and you should. So
And definitely check out our Holy City Sound Off Instagram or Holy City Sound Off podcast, covering the Charleston Battery and all things USL. Handles for that are Holy City Sound Off on Instagram and HC Sound Off on Twitter. And yeah, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcast for those, or just Spotify for that. And Linktree's there.
Thank you guys. And we'll see you.
Yeah. Sorry, there's so much to remember. I was like, did I miss anything?
You can tell who handles like the platforms and the communication and all that. It was Andrew just really
Andrew's the platform guy.
He used to say that on the close, and it took us about a year and a half where we're like, oh, we could just say it once and put it on.
yeah. Now we just do that. Had like 20 takes to get that done. But Jose and Andre, thank you so much for having us on here. I mean, this was so much fun. Got a lot of good laughs. Got to know more about you two, and
this was fun.
Yeah, we gotta run it back.
We got to run it back. And look here, and I think we're starting to roll out our own kind of content that features a lot of the independent content creators that are on GOLZtv. Andre just made his debut with our Prem episode. You guys have so much ball knowledge, and there's going to be a ton of opportunity to get you guys incorporated if you want to flex it and if you're down for that level of shithousery, because that's really what it ends up becoming. It's the perfect mix of banter and ball knowledge. So, of course, more things for you guys to think on. But for those of you stuck around to the very end, thank you so much. We appreciate you. If you haven't done so already, like the video down below, subscribe to the channel. And from everybody here at Box to Box and at GOLZtv, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll catch you guys next time.
See ya.